Next up in this sector, I'd like to now call on our next startup, Cerebro, represented by Justine Itugot.
Hello everyone, I'm Justin and I'm the CEO of Cerebro. We are a group of teachers who aim to innovate teaching by allowing our fellow educators to make teaching an enjoyable passion and not just a stressful job that could give them thoughts about leaving their careers. This is Teacher Anna, a grade school faculty member in a medium-sized private school handling 8 online classes with 50 students each. However, these classes are not of the same subject since teachers in the elementary level are usually expected to teach students in several learning areas, which could also be different from their field of specialization. Because of this, Anna needs to do an extensive research on the subjects that are assigned to her so she could prepare her instructional materials well, while also allocating time for her other administrative duties such as computing grades, preparing reports, and the like. Based on existing data, each teacher spends at least 2 hours per day for lesson preparation, which sums up to around 400 hours of preparation time for the entire school year. And this also becomes a pain point for school administrators after seeing a great number of teachers who are resigning from their jobs each year. Studies also show that such heavy workload of teachers has a significant effect on the quality of education, yielding low scores in standardized exams. And this is not just a problem in the Philippines. This is the same situation that teachers from around the world are experiencing right now. So we created Cerebro, a collection of ready-made lessons, curriculum-based quizzes, and printable modules that we could share with teachers to effectively reduce their workload and improve the quality of teaching. Unlike other e-learning products that focus on the platform alone, we took it a step further by providing the ready-made teaching and learning materials which we have carefully designed to align with the standard curriculum so we can ensure that teachers are providing quality education to their students. Right now, we have covered 94% of the entire Philippine K-12 curriculum with nearly 3,000 e-learning materials. And as we go for the international market, we are aiming to create additional contents based on the International Common Core Curriculum, particularly on mathematics, reading, and language arts. So we can also help teachers from around the world in reducing their workload and improving their teaching quality. There are more than 93 million teachers in the world, and among this number, 32 million are in countries where English is the primary medium of instruction who could benefit from solutions like that of Cerebro. With our current contents alone, we can already help up to 1.2 million teachers in the Philippines. And we would like to share this innovative way of teaching to those outside the country to achieve a wider impact. Right now, we have over a dozen schools who are using Cerebro as their e-learning platform with our contents, and we are able to generate $220,000 in revenue for the past 2 years. 75% of our team is composed of licensed professional teachers, so unlike other players, our expertise is more on instructional design and not just on technology. As we go for the international market, we are aiming for a content licensing and franchising agreement with LMS providers both in the local and foreign markets. This way, we will be able to benefit from their market leadership and familiarization in our target countries, while we are also allowing them to increase their competitive advantage by packaging our contents with their existing LMS platforms. Right now, we have already tested the compatibility of our contents with several LMS platforms such as Moodle and Canvas for the open source platforms, and even with some commercial ones like Neo and Schoology, and we are aiming to expand the list of compatible platforms by the 3rd quarter of this year. But we cannot do this alone. We are raising $400,000 in seed funding, where 45% will be spent for product development, 30% for operations, and 25% for marketing that will give us enough runway for the next 24 months. Right now, we are already at our break-even point, and we expect to be profitable by school year 2024-2025. So if you support us in this initiative, connect with us so we can make a global impact in education together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin. Cerebro. Okay, so now we will be having your 6-minute Q&A. Just to reiterate, the Q&A will be signaled at an end once you hear the bell, all right? Now your 6-minute Q&A with the judges begins. Floor is open for questions now.
I love the problem you're solving, but why do you want to go global? I mean, I understand that this is the accelerator program, but this is a larger problem in the Philippines than in most other countries, right? Like, just stay here. Why do you want to go abroad?
Of course, that is part of what we have considered. But there is a limited market size in the Philippines. There are only 14,000 private schools in the Philippines, and we don't want to limit ourselves with that. So we would want to explore possibilities by integrating our contents with other LMS providers even outside the Philippines.
Contents creation actually require a lot of times and energies, right? Do you have a team actually continue sustainably creating contents? How do you manage that?
Okay, so 75% of our team are licensed professional teachers, and aside from our core team, we have a pool of part-time instructional designers who are private school teachers. As you may know, the employment of private school teachers is just for 10 months, and they do not get employed during the 2-month summer vacation. So instead of them remaining unemployed for those 2 months, we get their services to serve as instructional designers for 2 months. So that way, we are able to speed up the content creation and offer these contents to our partner schools.
When you develop the modules, do you base it on or align it with the Philippine standards, education standards, or do you align it wherever your target market is, or do you align it with international best practices?
Right now, our materials are at 94% alignment with DepEd's K-12 curriculum. We actually have 2 consultants on board, one from the Department of Education, ensuring the alignment of our learning materials with DepEd's learning competencies. We also have a psychometrician on board who is actually checking if our test bank items are actually measuring the learning competencies correctly. But as we go for the international market, we are aiming to align these materials to the International Common Core Curriculum, particularly on mathematics, reading, and language arts, following the same cycle of content development.
To be clear, the school pays you so that you can help their teachers.
What we are doing is we are offering our package of contents to schools so they can put it on top of their existing LMS platforms. But for our local market, for schools who do not have their own platforms, we assist them with hosting so we can manage everything on our end and free up their team, especially the smaller schools with all the technical worries that they might have.
I'll go back to my question. I don't understand why you want to go to the international market, right? Like, there is so much competition out there. There's so many content providers. Like, I understand maybe it's a small market in the Philippines, but it doesn't mean that it's not a good business, right? And I'm saying that now because I think, like all of this startup hype, I need to become the next unicorn, I need to go after $1 billion market. If you're going after a Philippine market, it might still be good. Maybe just don't raise external funding. Run it as a normal business, and you're solving a big enough problem for people who actually need it, right? Like, nobody needs this outside. There's so much content out there. If you want to go abroad, go to Indonesia maybe, go to LATAM. Like, sorry, but nobody needs this in Europe. Like, I really don't think that there's a need for it.
So that is actually a valid point. But as far as internationalization and the market size, I don't want to limit the possibilities. So these are some things that we have already tested in the Philippines, which I think would also work for other countries. So for internationalization, our initial target is actually the Philippine schools overseas. There are 32 Philippine schools overseas, and right now, one of them is already using Cerebro because, as you may know, contents from the Philippines are not available in these countries. So they are our primary target market. And once we have gotten the feel of how the edtech industries work in these countries, that's the time maybe that we can consider if we will pursue other plans for internalization beyond our initial plan of reaching these Philippine schools overseas.
You're asking for 400,000 US dollars. That's around 21 million pesos. So that you can use those in the next 24 months?
Yes.
Your run rate seems kind of fast. You're burning money quite fast. You sure about that math?
Yeah, because we need to develop contents. We need to create additional contents. As you may know, curriculum-based contents have a lifetime of 4 to 6 years only before this gets updated. We need to get our contents updated all the time. So we need to follow the curriculum being used by the different schools, particularly those that are offered by the Department of Education, as well as the International Common Core Curriculum. So that's why we are spending 45% of that amount for product development alone, and with ensuring the compatibility of our materials with other LMS providers that are existing in the market.
Are you profitable now?
We are at break-even point right now. We are expecting to be profitable by school year 2024-2025.
In your comparison, actually, you compare yourself with some other space, right? But you didn't put the famous one in the map, right? Why is that?
In terms of content providers in the Philippines, most of the edtech providers here are focused on the platform. So indirectly, our competitors here in our country are the educational publishing houses, which are more focused on the publication of physical textbooks. There is actually very limited competition here in terms of producing digital contents, test banks for K-12 schools. So that's why that's what included.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much to our judges and of course Justine Itugot.